Let's just maybe talk about diabetes a little bit, because I know you talk a lot about that, and I'd love to talk to you about your, the vegan starter kit and some of the things you suggest to people. Also, you have these 2 steps to change your diet, which always sounds really weird because we're waiting for 12 steps. So maybe you could just share some of your IP, and also the hormones. Your next book is going to talk about hormones. Nobody talks about hormones. Between cheese and hormones, you have stuff that people won't really talk about. So where should we begin?
Let's start with diabetes. Just really, really quickly. So many people still have this naive idea that diabetes came from eating sugar. And it's understandable people would have that idea because diabetes means you have too much sugar in your blood. But you didn't get that from eating sugar. The reason that people got diabetes is that normally sugar that you eat, or sugar from carbohydrates like bread to release sugar, normally that sugar goes from your bloodstream into your muscles. So that when you're running a marathon, your muscles are running on glucose, and you're carbo loading in the days leading up to it so that your glycogen releases sugar into your blood to power your muscles. Yeah. If you've got type 2 diabetes, what happened is the sugar isn't getting into your muscles. It can't get in anymore. That's the problem. Why not? The reason it doesn't get in is because fat particles are inside the muscle cells, filling up the muscle cells and stopping insulin from being able to bring sugar in anymore. So nobody's ever heard of this, but...
Is this agreed upon in the science community?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can demonstrate it because at Yale University, where Jerry Schulman and Kit Peterson, their whole lab, bring in people, and we partner with them. We bring in people who have had bad diets for a long time, they're overweight. We put them on totally plant-based diets. We send them up to Yale. They go into what's called an MR spectroscopy machine. It's like MRI that people have for a twisted ankle or something like that, except now I'm not looking at your ankle, I'm looking in your muscles and in your liver. And as fat builds up in the muscles and liver, and I can see it, it causes insulin resistance, and that leads to type 2 diabetes. So we used a vegan diet so that there was no animal fat at all, and kept oils low too, and that fat goes away from the muscles, it dissipates. And with the fat out of your muscles, insulin works again, and it sucks the sugar out of your blood. Your blood sugar goes down, and it's the most amazing thing. There was a man, I got an email from this man, he lives here in England. And he had tried this approach, which I wrote about in my book, Dr. Neal Barnard's Program for Reversing Diabetes. Here's how you do it. He went completely vegan. He went to see his doctor who did blood testing on him. And this is the doctor who'd been treating him for a long time. He drives home. He gets home and the phone rings. And his doctor's office says, the doctor needs to see you back immediately. There's something about your blood test. Panics. He gets into his car. He races to the doctor's office. And he thinks, what did they detect in my blood? What have I got? And the doctor sits him down and says, tell me exactly what you've been doing. He said, I haven't been eating any animal products. I've kept the oils really low. I've been following this Dr. Neal Barnard's diabetes thing. What did you find in my blood? And the doctor said, you've had diabetes, but your blood sugar and everything is better than mine. And I don't have diabetes. In other words, his diabetes went away. He was unaware of this. His doctor was unaware of this. And when I talk to people on a day-to-day basis, it's astounding that nobody knows about the cause of type 2 diabetes. But yes, type 2 diabetes comes from eating fatty foods like meat and cheese. The fat gets into the muscle and liver cells, so insulin can't work anymore. Get rid of those foods, your insulin works again.
That's plant-based fats as well. You got to watch those as well.
Yes. Now, yes, exactly. So if you're eating lots of peanut butter and fried foods, it's not going to work. I do believe that the animal fats are probably worse because the saturated fat I think is especially bad. But yeah, I keep them all low. But we've done this with people with late-stage diabetes where they've got neuropathy, and their feet are killing them.
Yeah.
It's miserable. And even for them, they improve. Now, if a person has diabetes for a really long time, the pancreas has been beaten up, and we probably can't get rid of it. If I get you at diagnosis, you've got a good chance of getting rid. I mean, it's just gone for many people. For others, it's improved. But it has completely changed things. And I think about my dad. He used to come home at 6 o'clock, set down in his bag. Never cured a case of diabetes. With us, it happens all the time.
Wow.
Because we're dealing with the cause.
You know, I mentioned I had a meal after the Ironman race, and it was one of my students in the academy who had actually had diabetes. He'd actually burned his feet by standing on a fire, and he didn't even know it. And he actually went 100% plant-based. Traveled across America. He might have even interviewed you for his series called I Thrive. and reversed his diabetes. So he had some success with that in a big way. You know?
To this day, insulin is not a generic drug. It's a money-making business. And in China now, as they're eating more pork, diabetes is through the roof. And you know who's salivating? You know who the buzzards are on the wires all around China? The pharmaceutical companies. They're making out big. So nobody wants to reverse this disease. We've got to get the word out. But you also said it, that with hormonal conditions, you know, diabetes is a hormonal condition where insulin doesn't work. But what about all the other hormonal conditions? Menstrual cramps. What? Could that relate to food? Endometriosis, PCOS, hormone-related cancers. Yeah, they do.
And that's going to be the next book. It's going to go deeper on that stuff.
I was sitting at my desk one day, and the phone rang, and it was a young woman who said, "I can't get out of bed." I said, "What is it?" You know, many women have cramps, but in her case, it was like off the scale. And so we knew from breast cancer patients that you can change the diet to reduce estrogen stimulation, because estrogen causes cancer cells to grow. So the short answer is you get the fat out of the diet and you greatly increase fiber, and that reduces estrogen a bit. So I suggested to her, would you want to try for the next month? No animal products at all, and keep oils low too. She did it, and she called me back a month later. She said, "This is the weirdest thing. My period started with 0 symptoms, no symptoms whatsoever." And she kept noticing that. And so I thought, well, this is cool. So I then did a randomized clinical trial with my friends at Georgetown University's Department of OBGYN, and it works. And I thought, okay, cramps aren't going to kill you, but breast cancer could kill you, or prostate cancer. Let's see what we can do about those hormones, or polycystic ovary disease, or endometriosis. And what we've got here is a key to directing human biology in a way that we never had before. So anyway, I got all excited. And I said, I don't want to talk about diabetes right now. I want to talk about menstrual cramps. I want to talk about these things. So I wrote a book called Your Body in Balance. And my hope is that when it comes out, people will not spend quite so much time at the pharmacy and spend a little more time picking their foods more effectively.
That's exciting. Sounds like a really interesting...